Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Do you ever feel like you're doing the journey alone? Have you ever felt like that you just need someone to talk to, someone who could bring some perspective into your world? Or maybe you're not the type of person who learns from watching video courses or reading books, and you just want to talk with someone specifically about your challenges and how to break through them. I want to introduce you to the High Performance Men's Coaching Program. It's an intensive coaching experience designed to unlock a man's full potential in his life, business, and relationships. Over this past year, I've brought together and trained some of the best coaches in the world to help men step up, stop playing small, and become the strongest versions of themselves. Learn more about High Performance Men's Coaching at kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. You are not alone, and we are here to cut through the crap, hold you accountable, and challenge you so that you can make your dreams become a reality. Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Michael Bungay Stanier, who's the senior partner at Box of Crayons, a company that helps organizations do less good work and more great work. He's also the author of several books, including The Coaching Habit, Do More Great Work. He's also been featured in Business Insider, Fast Company, Forbes, and the Huffington Post. Michael, welcome to the show.
Andrew, good to be here. Thanks for having me along.
All right, Michael, let's dive in now with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that you've lived by that's helped you on your journey.
Well, I was tempted to go with Yogi Berra's great one, which is when you come to a fork in the road, take it. But I'm going to go beyond that. Charles Bukowski, great poet, actually a pretty good poet, not a very nice person, but I did like this quote of his. And here it is. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. And what I like about that is that for me, this is a call to do less rather than more, but to do it better. So in one of the books you mentioned, Andrew, Do More Great Work, I say, look, everything you do falls into one of these three buckets: bad work, good work, or great work. Here's a really quick definition. Bad work: soul-sucking, life-crushing, waste of time, bureaucracy, if you like. Good work, the everyday stuff that kind of keeps ticking things along, so it's important. But great work is the work that has more impact and the work that has more meaning. And all of us have this hunger to do work that lights us up, that speaks to who we are, that is kind of the better version of ourselves that we can imagine showing up in the world. And we've got this hunger. One of the exercises I do, and this might be something that people can do at home right now, is think about how you're spending your life right now. Grab a bit of paper, draw a circle on it if you'd like, and divide that circle into three segments that represent how much bad work, how much good work, and how much great work you're currently doing. And when I get people to do this exercise, Andrew, you can just do that with you or just in your head. When I ask you and I go, so Andrew, how does that shape up for you? How much bad work, how much good work, how much great work shows up in your pie? What would your answer be?
I think I would lean towards the good and the great. I think right now, we're doing great work. And maybe earlier during some meetings today, maybe it was just good work.
Yeah, nice. So when I ask most people, their answer is something like this. Basically, somewhere between 0 and 20% of all the stuff that they do, they would consider great work. Okay. Between like 10 and 40% of everything they do, bad work. And then the rest, so that's like 30 to 80%, that's just good work. And the real question is not, is there a magic combination, a magic number here? Should I be going for, 72, 28 or some combination like that? The real question is to ask yourself is, have you got the right mix between good work and great work at the moment? That's what you're hungering for. Have you got the right mix? And almost nobody I know says to me, I've just got too much great work right now, just too much of that stuff that lights me up, that makes a difference, that has a real impact in the world. And so all of this connects back to this Charles Bukowski quote: if you're going to try, go all the way, otherwise don't even start. It's like, pick the great work project, commit to it, don't half-ass it, but go, this is the thing that I'm going to make a difference. So Andrew's and this great podcast, he's like, if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to do an awesome podcast. I'm going to have amazing guests. I'm going to have good production quality. I'm going to do what it takes to get it to the top of iTunes and have a bazillion downloads. You can feel that kind of commitment behind that. And that's what I think this quote is a call to action about.
So how do we eliminate the bad work, and why would someone be doing bad work day in, day out?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, part of it is because we feel a little bit stuck, or we feel a little bit obligated around the bad work. You know, we're doing it out of guilt or just momentum. But the trickier one, Andrew, is actually to figure out, how do you do less good work? Because bad work, you kind of know. You're like, God, I've got to outsource that, or I've got to just stop doing it, or I've got to find a way of doing it much faster so it takes up less time. But good work is the seductive one, because it keeps us busy. It keeps us going. We do it well. We get our boss and our boss's boss, you know, in actuality or metaphorically, they kind of praise us for it. We feel pretty good because you can see it adds some value, and, you know, it uses skills and training that we've got. So the real seduction is to keep doing good work and be thinking to yourself, I'll just get on top of my good work, and then when I've done that, then I'll get to my great work. But the truth is, you have so much good work that it will always expand to fill the space you give it.
I like that. I really do. And so what does it look like? You've coached, you've worked with a lot of people, you've done a lot of speaking.
Yep.
What does someone's life look like when they're spending a lot of their time and energy in the bad work? And then on the other side of that, what does someone's life look like when they're spending a large chunk of their day doing great work? I'm talking personally. I'm talking like their health even. How does this impact their relationships, their income, on that kind of scale?
Yeah, you know, I think as you ask that question, everybody who's listening to it goes, I think I know what it looks like to me. So this is what I'd say to everybody listening in. It's like, okay, you're a man who's living a good life at the moment. But imagine if you could change the balance between bad work, good work, and great work at the moment. You know, significantly reduce the bad work. What would you need to start doing, stop doing, do more of to make less bad work show up in your life? Significantly increase the great work. What would that look like and feel like? You know, where would you put your attention? What would you put your time to? Here's the question that you'd wrestle with. What will I say yes to? And if I'm saying yes to that, what must I truly say no to? And can you imagine things shifting for you? Because I don't know what your life is like, but if you remove some of the bad work and you got rid of that, if you stepped into that work that is more fulfilling, that has more impact, that makes more of a difference, you tell me what your life would feel like and how it would show up differently. You know, Andrew, for some of us, it's going to be a better relationship with our spouse or our partner. Some of us, it's going to be, I'm going to have a chunk more money. Some of it is going to go, I'm going to have less money, but I'm going to have more time. I'm going to have more spaciousness. Some of it's going to be going, I'm going to make more of a difference through the volunteer work I do. Some of us, I'm going to write a book. You know, it's different for all of us, but it's about living a life full of more, that steps closer to living our potential in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all relate with the bad work and then the good work. And if we were to shift and start doing more great work and even good work, but just eliminating that bad work, our lives would definitely improve. So why won't we do it? Okay, it's clear. I understand there's bad work, there's good work, there's great work. Do spend time in good work. Someone might be thinking, but in your words, like, why would someone still not choose to do great work and eliminate that bad work?
Yeah, so I think the three attributes you need to do more great work are focus, encourage, and resilience. So focus is all about knowing where to put your time and attention. There's actually a book in the new book called The Coaching Habit. There's actually a question called the focus question. And that question is, what's the real challenge here for you? And it really says, look, you've got a ton of stuff that you're moving forward bit by bit at the moment. But if you had to pick one thing for you, that would be I'm going to call it your great work project, the thing you're going to put time and effort and energy into. What would that look like? And to know that, Andrew, you need to actually know who you are as a man in this world. What do you care about? What lights you up? Because, one man's great work project, writing a book, is another man's idea of hell. Whereas another man's great work project, I'm going to go off in the wilderness and take my son on a 6-month trek through the wilderness, would leave me dead, right? So it's different for different people. So I think focus is important. I think courage matters, because it's one thing to know what your great work might be. It's another thing to be brave enough to step into and actually begin doing the great work. And then the third part is resilience, because courageous as it is to start doing it, it's even harder to keep doing it, because there are some times when you're doing great work, it feels awesome. You're in the zone, you're lit up, you're engaged, you're like, this is why I wanted to do this. And then there are other times where you're in that slough of despond, where you doubt yourself. You're like, you just want to lie down on the road and hope that it all goes away. And you're willing to stand up and step up. So in the Coaching Habit book, the fourth question of the 7 questions that we talk about there is actually called the foundation question. And in some ways, it's at the heart of doing more great work. And the question is simple, but it's powerful, which is this: what do you want? What do you want? And as a man looking to live a better life, one of the hardest things for us to wrestle with is to go, what do I want? I mean, I've got all these forces around me saying this is what you should want. And the real question is, who are you, and how do you want to be in this world, and how do you want to show up? And the question at the heart of all of that is, what do you want?
I think that's a question we should ask ourselves weekly, monthly, really sit in solitude and ask ourselves,
it's hard.
What do I really want? Because I think immediately when you ask that question, I start thinking of a lot of societal wants, such as perhaps I need to have this car, I need to have this house, or I'm saying things because that is what is socially accepted as a good want. But even more, like, what if what we want is actually a lot less?
Right.
If that's really what we want, like what, because it might not be what we want as an external item, but if we go deeper, maybe it's something like peace and joy and happiness and freedom is like behind that external item. And so what do I really want? Not so much, what do I...
Brilliant. So here's what's wonderful that you're pointing to, Andrew, is there's a guy called Marshall Rosenberg who is known for his work in nonviolent communication. And one of the things that he talks around is the difference between needs and wants. Needs is the kind of the thing, often the external thing. I need this car. I need this new set of clothes. I need whatever it might be. But he points to, I think, 9 deeper wants that are the real engines for happiness. And all of us have a different combination of these. But you pointed to a whole bunch of them. It's joy, it's freedom, it's autonomy, it's self-expression. All of these things are like where true expressions of ourself can be. Like, I know enough about myself to know that one of my deepest hungers is a sense of freedom. So that's really helpful to know, because I get to see myself react when I see my freedom is threatened, and then go, am I just being triggered by this? Am I just overreacting? Am I just kind of being responsive because it's a deeper need for it? Or do I get to self-manage around this so that I get to be with the situation in front of me, but also pursue my deeper quest, which is more freedom?
Yeah. And you mentioned these 7 questions. I didn't hear all 7. I did hear some of them, and I really like them. Could we start from the top and just go over what these 7 questions are? I want to write these down, and then for those listening, I want you guys to write these down and review these questions as well.
So this comes from the book called The Coaching Habit. Mm-hmm. And it's written to say, look, not everybody wants to be a coach. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out in the world. I bet you a bunch of people listening to this program are coaches, and that's great. But I think all of us could benefit by being more coach-like. Now, here's what I mean by that. Can you slow down the rush to action and advice giving? Can you stay curious just a little bit longer? Because we are all advice-giving maniacs. We love to tell other people what to do. We love it. We don't even know what the problem is, but we're like, I've got some initial thoughts about what you should be doing. Exactly. And And people are nodding as they're listening to this, but let me tell everybody, it's even worse than you think it is. You don't even know how easily you're triggered into wanting to give people advice. And if the quest is to stay curious just a little bit longer, and I think it is, this is going to make a better life for you and for those in your life, whether they're your spouse, your kids, your team, your boss, whoever it might be. So let me give you some of the questions that I think can help. And there's only 7 in the book. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. That's 7 good questions to really move your life forward. And let me start with question number 1 and question number 7. These are the bookend questions. Question number 1 is a way of getting into a more interesting conversation more quickly with people. And what we found is that often when people are in conversation, they want to get into something juicy, something meaningful. Don't give me the kind of, mundane, boring, trivial conversation. Let's talk about something that matters. But how do I get there? So I think that question can help you. And the question is this: what's on your mind? What's on your mind? We call this the kickstart question. And what's great about it is it says to the other person, you get to choose what to talk about. I'm not going to force the agenda. But don't just tell me anything. Tell me about something that you're excited about or worried about or happened recently or that's kind of lighting you up right now. What's on your mind? And then the final question is the teaching question. I think one of the most powerful roles you can play as a man in this world is to be a teacher. Not necessarily a salaried teacher, but a teacher to those that you interact with. And to teach, you have to understand how people learn. And people do not learn when you tell them stuff. It's very annoying, but that's the way it happens. Think of all the advice that you ignore in your life. Well, that's what people feel about your advice as well. Exactly. So it doesn't work when you try and tell them stuff. It doesn't even really work when they do stuff. They learn a bit from that, but not so much. They learn when they have a moment to reflect on what's just happened. So the teaching question, and there's variations on it, but the one I like is, what was most useful or most valuable here for you? What was most useful or most valuable here for you? And for those of you who are regular listeners of this podcast, Knowledge for Men, you might ask yourself at the end of this episode and future episodes, what was most useful and most valuable here for you? Because it'll take an episode from being a pleasant conversation where you hear some good stuff to actually extracting something that you'll be able to use and incorporate more thoroughly into your life. So those are the coaching bookends: how to start more quickly, how to finish more strongly any conversation. And then we've talked about a couple of the other questions: the foundation question, what do you want? The focus question, what's the real challenge here for you? But let me share this as a final question to share with you all, which is the best coaching question in the world. So, because not everybody here wants to be a coach, and that's great, let's just call it the best question in the world. And the question is this: big title for a short question. And what else? And what else doesn't sound like it should be the best coaching question in the world, because it sounds pretty, insignificant, really. But here's why it works so well. Because the first answer to a question that you ask is never the only answer, and it's rarely the best answer. So by asking, and what else? Here's an example. So what was most useful or valuable here for you? Great. Good. I love that. What else was useful or valuable? Love it. What else was useful here? Great. Is there anything else that was useful here? And you can imagine in that imaginary conversation that I just had with myself, how that deepens the learning and deepens the exploration. The other reason why and what else is so powerful is that it is a self-management tool. It stops you jumping in and giving people advice, because here's what normally happens. You ask a question, what was just useful here? They go, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then you decide to offer up an opinion or a thought or a suggestion or a solution. And I'm not saying never do that. I'm saying slow down the rush to action and advice. So rather than offering up your opinion, just nod your head, be enthusiastic, and go, that's great, I love it. And what else? What else was useful or valuable here? So those are, I think, what's that, 4 of the 7 questions, the coaching book, 5 of the 7 questions, the coaching bookends, what's on your mind, and what was most useful or valuable here for you, the focus question, what's the real challenge here for you, the foundation question, what do you want, and best coaching question in the world, and what else.
And the last 2? I got 5 there.
5. Well, we've talked about one of the other ones, which is the strategic question, which is, we connected that to great work, which is, if you're saying yes to this, what will you say no to? What's brilliant about that is it's about opportunity cost. you really see what you're trading off. You're really seeing what's possible. Because most men I know are really good at continuing to say yes, even when there's no more capacity. So their yeses have no spine, have no background, have no shape to them because they're just trying to cram it in with all the other yeses. And question number 7 is called the lazy question. So, Andrew, the way we make money as a company at Box of Crayons is we offer training so that busy managers can coach in 10 minutes or less. And the 3 principles of our coaching approach are be lazy, be curious, be often. And people who've been listening kind of can figure out how those things fit, right? Be lazy is stop jumping in to fix things and solve things for the other person. Being curious is learning how to tame your advice monster, because we all have that advice monster that comes out of the dark. And being often is to recognize that every interaction with somebody can be a bit more coach-like, whether it's in person or on the phone or by text. If the goal is to stay curious a little bit longer and rush to action and advice a little bit slower, then you can do that with every interaction. So the lazy question kind of connects to those principles, which is like stop jumping in and fixing things. And the lazy question is, how can I help? Or a blunter version, what do you want from me? And I know when you hear that, it doesn't sound like a lazy question. It sounds like you're asking for more work. But what most of us do is we go, I think I know what's needed here, and you begin the intervention. You don't check it out. You don't do anything. You're like, I'm already in motion here. I'm telling you what to do. I'm doing stuff for you. And ironically, asking how can I help or what do you want from me slows down your rush to action and makes sure that what is being traded as a clear request. And remember, when you hear that clear request, when they tell you what they want or how you can help them, you don't have to say yes to that. You get to say no or maybe or yes or not that, but this. And again, it's about slowing down your automatic knee-jerk action and making sure that what you end up committing to is the thing that matters and that the thing that's most helpful.
I think this is very relevant for, this is a men's sort of podcast here, mostly a male demo, listenership, probably 95%. And as men, we want to fix, we want to, build, we want to go out and do, let's get it done. Let's solve this. Okay, let's move on. And obviously giving advice is a huge part of that. Our opinion, as we would like to give advice, it's so hard to kind of take in our own advice sometimes, but we're so quick to give others advice. And this right here gives us a set of questions that can help us slow that down so that we can be more curious, as you were saying, and allow the other person to express what's on their mind so they feel, I think, heard is what we're going after. They feel heard and acknowledged and respected, which is essential for whether it's a work relationship or a romantic relationship or even even perhaps with children. I could see this going with parenting as well.
It does.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I want to make. First of all, I totally agree with you. I mean, the fact that they have an actual term for it, mansplaining, means that men give a lot of advice, right?
Right. Mansplaining.
That said, in my experience of teaching people this, we are all, men and women, wired to want to rush to give advice. But the thing I want to build on is this. You are pointing beautifully to the benefits to the other person in doing this. They feel more heard. They become more confident and more competent and more autonomous and more self-sufficient.
Yes.
But I want everybody to hear that coaching and being more coach-like helps them, but it helps you too. It actually means that you're not responsible for fixing other people's problems. It means that you're not trying to cram in everybody else's lives plus your own life. It means that you have more time and space to focus on your own great work and actually do the work that lights you up and is meaningful for you. So what I hope for people is, and we mostly work in corporate situations, but I tend to say that we're trying to help people work less hard, but have more impact by being more coach-like.
I like it. I think the benefit allows the individual to, it feels like, declutter a lot of challenges and problems where people are bringing them to them, and you're empowering others to go on and solve their own challenges so that you can focus on doing more great work and less of the bad work.
You got it. I mean, the metaphor that people may have heard already is, because it's not my metaphor, I'm stealing it from somebody, is like, come in and show me your monkey, and we'll look at the monkey and we'll play with the monkey and we admire the monkey. But when you leave, you're taking the monkey with you. This is not my monkey. And so many of us take the monkey and we end up with a life full of other people's monkeys. And that doesn't help us.
Yeah. So explain more. What is the monkey? What is that?
The monkey is like the problem, the issue, the challenge, whatever it might be. It's like, no, your monkey, not my monkey.
So we could be walking around with like a whole family of monkeys, like 10 monkeys on us, and we're trying to go out there and wake up and do great work, but we're dealing with all these other challenges and problems, and you're calling them monkeys
you
when
got
we
it.
wake up.
And let's face it, we've got enough monkeys of our own. I mean, it's not like we don't have our own monkeys, our own challenges, our own issues to work on and to work through. The last thing you really need is to take on and adopt everybody else's monkeys as well.
Yeah. Really good stuff. So let me recap some of the questions here for the listeners in case they were trying to get them all and they missed them. What's on your mind? What's most useful or valuable here for you?
The learning question. Yep.
What do you want?
The foundation question.
What's the real challenge here for you?
The focus question.
What else?
The best coaching question in the world. And what else? The acronym of that is AWE. So this is the awesome question because it spells awesome.
And so if you're saying yes to this, then what will I have to say no to?
Right. That's the strategic question. You know, one of the you asked me to start off with a quote, an inspirational quote, and I could have gone with Steve Jobs, right? Focus means saying no to the hundreds of other good ideas that are out there, right? So that's the strategy question.
Yes. And the final, how can I help? Or what do you want from me? But
nice.
we'll put in parentheses, guys, put in parentheses listening. You don't have to say yes. You can say no, and you can offer, a counter. It's not like you have to do what it is that they want. Maybe you can take a different path to getting a similar solution.
Yeah, you nailed that. That's the lazy question. And that addition Andrew's pointing out is essential. If you think that every time you ask, how can I help, you have to do everything they say, you're basically screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then now you're just now you know exactly what they want, and it's clear, it's out there, and now you have to go out and do it, and then you got all
now you have a zoo of monkeys.
Yeah.
You do not want the monkey zoo.
Yeah, and you're not charging for that zoo. You're not making any money. Okay,
That's
so
right.
What would you like someone to do today? How can they get started with this? What would be something you would like the thousands of men listening to just be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Michael says do this.
Yeah. So look, if you want to change your life to be better, and that's why you listen to a podcast like this, your problem is not having enough knowledge. Because I've seen the list of guests on this podcast. It's insane. And you've got a bucket load of things you could do. So knowledge is not the problem. It's moving into action is the challenge. So I was going to say, if there's one thing that people could do that would be the meta skill, the foundation for laying a better life, it's to master how to build better habits faster. And, the first chapter in the book, The Coaching Habit, is a chapter on how to build a better habit. And that chapter is downloadable and findable, so you can certainly grab that. But there's other great writers on habits, from Leo Babauta of Habit Zen to Charles Duhigg of The Power of Habit to BJ Fogg and tinyhabits.com. Really, it's like get to grips with what it means to understand habits, because habits are the building blocks of behavior change, and behavior change is the pathway to a better life.
Very well said. Very well said. Let's now dive into the knowledge round. I'm just going to ask you a few last rapid fire questions here. So, Michael, Are you ready for the knowledge round?
I'm not really ready, but we're going to go with it anyway. Was that one of the rapid fire questions?
No. We have not. We have begun now. So you might be wondering, why would I ever invest in a coach? I've never done anything like that before. Well, it's going to shorten your learning curve and save you the time that it would take to achieve your goal. You can avoid making mistakes that you would otherwise make. You'll get more results because everything will be tailored to your specific needs and challenges. The coach will hold you accountable so you can't procrastinate, so you can't be lazy, so you can't say, I didn't have the time. You'll be challenged and pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. You'll have conversations so powerful that you'll feel more energized, alive, and confident and certain about the goals that you have in front of you and where you want to go. Most importantly, where you want to be. You'll go farther than you've ever gone before when you have a coach. If you want to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program, go to kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program. You have got to understand that every successful person in the world invests in coaching to go from good to great. And if you're already a high achiever, then how much more could you achieve if you had a high performance men's coach at your side to push you even further? Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply for our high performance men's coaching program. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost or unsure of their purpose?
To look back on your past and tell yourself a story of a moment, a peak moment for you, a moment where you felt at your best, where you felt you were rocking it, where there was a challenge and you stepped forward and kind of rose to that challenge and you kind of saw a better version of yourself. And when you look at that story, understand what the kind of core attributes underlying that story might be, because the great work stories of your past give you other seeds from where your great work of your future lie. So in those stories, there's something that tells you this is who you are at your best, and tell yourself those stories, interrogate them, and figure out what they tell you about you at your very best, because you at your very best is you on your path to find your purpose.
Yeah, I like that. What do you think is holding most men back from becoming stronger, grounded men today?
That's a big question. I'll speak for myself, and I'm sure in my story there's a reflection for some other men. The thing that helped me really become more grounded was actually understanding some basics of nonviolent communication. And in that in particular was understanding that there are just 5 core feelings: mad, sad, glad, ashamed, and afraid. Mad, sad, glad, ashamed, and afraid. And having those 5 labels and practicing feeling them, and I know that sounds weird, but I'm one of those guys who goes, my body is apparently mostly there just to carry my head around. I'm not that kind of connected to my physicality or how I feel. But really working on that side of me has helped me become a more grounded man. So for some of the people listening in, that might be helpful for them.
That's good. I like that. What's a morning routine habit that you just have to do every morning?
Well, the truthful answer would be I have to have an espresso in the morning. The lying answer would be I need to meditate and then have an ice shower and then go for a 5-kilometer run and then write a note of appreciation to 3 other people. And I do sometimes meditate, and I do often write a note of appreciation, and I do go for a run occasionally. But the thing that I always do is have an espresso.
I appreciate your vulnerability, and I'm sure a lot of people were laughing when you did that. So that's good. Because we know that does help, and when we do it, we do feel good. The meditate, when we exercise in the morning, and if we do some sort of gratitude, some silent prayer type thing, we know it works. But I appreciate your vulnerability and saying, hey, it doesn't always work. I don't always get a chance to do it, but I do get that espresso.
I always have the chance to do it. I just don't always take up the chance.
I like it. I like it. And so the book that we've been referencing a lot throughout this entire episode is The Coaching Habit, Do More Great Work. So I want to give credit to your book here, and you have written others as well, which we can find on Amazon, Michael Bungay Stanier. But for yourself, what have been 3 of your most influential books and why?
So there's a book by Bill Bryson called A Short History of Nearly Everything. Bill Bryson's mostly a travel writer, but he had this detour where he wrote about science, and he wrote about it in a way that made science accessible and available and understandable to people who aren't scientists. And the man is hilarious, and the man is a genius. And in reading that book, one of the things that struck a chord for me was just how basically miraculous it is to be alive today on this planet Earth. Just little things like we have a really big moon compared to every other planet in our solar system. Because we have this really big moon, it means that our magnetic pole stays stable. because of the way the moon and the earth work together. Because the magnetic pole stays stable, it means that we actually have set seasons. Because we have set seasons, we actually are able to develop agriculture. Because we have agriculture, we can develop civilization. Because we have civilization, we can have a podcast called Knowledge for Men.
It all comes down to the final thing is
exactly,
the podcast.
none of that's possible. And you need about 8 billion things to happen to actually live the life we're living right now. So Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson would be definitely one of them. The other one's going to be this second one's going to be a bit obscure. It's by an Australian author by David Malouf, and it's called An Imaginary Tale. It's very short. It's prose, but it imagines the story of Ovid, the Roman poet, being exiled from the Roman Empire, which is true, and living and dying in the outskirts of the Roman Empire. And it's a very profound story about what it means to lose your language and find a new language and become a more fully integrated, connected person. It kind of connects a little bit back to what we were talking about before about what it means to actually connect to feelings and to body and to become a more whole man. So I think that would be a second one.
Great.
And what's the third one? There's so many good books out there. I'm going to say the third one might be Purple Cow by Seth Godin.
Okay.
So this is more a marketing book.
Yeah.
Short read. Seth Godin's a fun, smart man. And Purple Cow is like difference matters. And be courageous enough to be different. You zig when others zag. And that's been very helpful for me as you know, our company's called Box of Crayons. So we're doing what we can to be our own purple cow.
I like that. All right. I'll be throwing some of those, the short history of everything. I just threw that on my wish list. Sounds really good.
It's so good.
Yeah. I like the reference, the moon, all this, just so that we can do this podcast. So many things. It's so true. And there's a lot to be grateful for when you look at something like that. Now for yourself, this is more of a scenario, Michael. Imagine you had 60 seconds with your 25-year-old self. And so if you can envision where he is at personally, professionally, his relationships, and knowing what you now know today, if you could sit down with 25-year-old Michael, what would you tell him to do? And what would you tell him not to do?
I would just tell him to enjoy the ride. It's going to be an awesome life. And, I was 25. I was a Rhodes Scholar. I was just finishing my time at Oxford. I had just met the woman who is now my wife. So we've been together for 25 years. Honestly, at 25, my life was awesome. It was about as good as I could get. And it's had its ups and downs, but that's just how the rhythm of life. You don't get a life without ups and downs. So it's like just enjoy it. Be appreciative of all the good stuff that happens, even when it doesn't feel like it's the good stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Would you say that's your philosophy on life right there? Did that just come out? Is there more to it?
It needs more than that for me. So, they say that people write the books that they need to read themselves. And I wrote Do More Great Work because I'm like, I am somebody who has a hunger to have an impact in this world. So my personal mission, the way I frame it, is to infect 1 billion people with the possibility virus. And what that does for me is it calls me forth to go, how do I serve this world and the people in it in a way that isn't about me and my ego and being in the spotlight, but offers up tools and insights and ways of being that can make people happier and better and can make the world happier and better.
Very good. Very good. Infect 1 billion people with the possibility virus.
And I know with your listenership, I've just accomplished 50% of that target right here.
Absolutely. Yeah, that many men. You have made a fantastic difference here on this podcast, Michael. Well, I want to go into now, like, what are you looking forward to? What's exciting you today? What are you looking forward to the rest of the year? Things like that.
Well, the learning edge for me is, so my company, Box of Crayons, a training company, we just focus on giving busy managers the tools so they can coach in 10 minutes or less. And because the book, The Coaching Habit, has been such a success, it's been out a year and a bit, and it's been the #1 coaching book on Amazon for that whole time. Our company's really grown. It's like doubled in size. And so I'm learning a whole new skill about what it means to run a much bigger company. And I have to give up power, and I have to give up control, and I have to give up understanding to be an effective CEO. So one part of the learning edge for me is around learning what it means to lead in a different way. Then practically, we're hoping to launch an app sometime later on this year. So just trying to figure that out, because the world is full of useless apps. So how do we not become a useless app? And then thirdly, my wife retired in December. So we're learning what it means to live together with her as a retired lady of leisure. So that's interesting as well.
I love what's happening with your mission here and the impact that you're making. I think that alone inspires many people, in addition to what you've shared with us here today. So thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your advice and wisdom here with my community. We can follow up with you at boxofcrayons.biz. And then, guys, check out the book, The Coaching Habit, Say Less, Ask More, and Change the Way You Lead Forever. And then if you click on his name, you can see he has other books as well that you can check out, a series of different books. So I highly recommend that you check out The Coaching Habit. And Michael, thank you so much for coming on here today.
Andrew, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for having me along.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of KnowledgeForMen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.